It is important to note that you can have multiple network interface cards assigned to your virtual machine in Azure. For certain business requirements, you may want to have multiple network cards attached to the same VM. So you can create virtual machines in Azure and attach multiple NICs to each of your VMs. Having multiple NICs is a requirement for many network virtual appliances, such as think about application delivery or WAN optimization solutions. So having multiple NICs also provides more network traffic management functionality, including isolation of traffic between the front-end NIC and the back-end NIC, or separation of data traffic from the management traffic. And this list could be just going on, but the idea is to have two different network cards for two different business purposes. Let's go ahead and see how you can attach multiple network cards to the same VM. In this demonstration, we will have one network card getting an IP address from one subnet and another network card getting IP address from a different subnet in the same VNet. So right now I've got a network called business NW1, and there are two subnets called subnet 1 and subnet 2. Their CIDR blocks are represented as 10.20.30/24, and the subnet 2 is 10.20.40.0/24. I have a virtual machine created in subnet 1. So if you look at this web server, it is created in a virtual network which I just showed, which is business NW1, and it is in subnet 1. Let's go look at the networking statistics. Well, it has a network interface which is there in subnet 1, and as per the discussion, we did say that we can have multiple network cards, and for demonstration purposes, let's go ahead and create the second network card in the second subnet, which is subnet 2. To create and attach a network card, I need to just click on this button, which is Add Network Interface. But keep in mind that in order to attach a network interface to my virtual machine, the VM must be in shutdown mode. Otherwise, I'll get an error message. Let's see how the error message looks like. Let's attempt to attach the network interface to the virtual machine. And if we get the error message, we'll see, because I'm sure we have to shut down the virtual machine, without which we'll not be able to attach it to the VM. Okay, so I'll click on attach network interface and then create a new network interface. The name of the network interface can be just anything. I'll call it as public network card, and this will then go into a second subnet. You can choose between dynamic IP or a static IP. If you click on static IP, you can type in one IP address from this range. I will leave it as dynamic at this time and click on create. It is creating a new network interface and should take like 2 to 3 minutes based on my experience to create a new network interface. I'll pause the video for a minute and then resume once it is ready. Looks like the network interface is created. Let's go ahead and try to attach it now. So I'll click on attach network interface one more time, and in the drop down menu we now have our newly created public network card. I'll click on OK and see what happens. Now we got an error message on the top right hand side which says that the virtual machine must be stopped and deallocated before it can be updated to have multiple network interfaces and vice versa. So attaching a new network card needs downtime. If you have any change management schedules, make sure that you follow the change management procedures, and the CAB must approve the change. That's when you shut it down and attach the network card. Now, because this is a test server and we do not have any change procedures, I'll just click on stop and let it get deallocated. Once it is stopped, I'll go back to the same place and then click on networking and attach a network interface. And since shutting down will take some time, I'll pause the video again and resume once it is ready. Now that the VM is stopped and deallocated, as we see in the status here, we can now go to the networking section and see if we can add the new network interface to this virtual machine. To do so, I'll click on the attach network interface button and then make sure that I have my network interface in this drop-down menu. Well, that's the only one I have at this time, but in production you may have a lot more than this. So make sure that you're selecting the right network card, and then I click on OK, and then wait for a few minutes to have the network interface attached to my VM. Looks like the network interface is attached, and that's why we see two network cards now. One is web server 826, which has the IP address of 10.20.30.4, which is picked up from subnet 1. Remember that the subnet 1 had the CIDR block of 10.20.30.0/24, whereas the second one, which is the public network interface card, now this has an IP address of 10.20.40.4. So the second network card has got an IP from the subnet 2, which had a CIDR block of 10.20.40.0/24. So it is possible to have two network cards attached to the same VM, and then those two network cards have the IP addresses getting from two different subnets in the same network.